Continue our knowledge sharing mission today through a series of interviews with marketing leaders from all over the world. And we're thrilled to have Oliver Otto with us. Oliver, welcome to CMO Chats. Could you please just give a short introduction to yourself, your position and Broadridge?
Sure. So first of all, thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here. So I head up the marketing function here at Broadridge in Asia. I'm based in Singapore, lived here in Singapore for the last 14 years. I grew up in Japan, so spent a lot of my sort of teenage and working life in Tokyo before moving to Singapore. And so I've been in Asia for over 30 years. Absolutely love it here. It's such a dynamic region and an interesting area to grow the business. So I lead a small team of marketers across Asia, particularly in Hong Kong and Singapore. And as part of a global team, we are tasked to really bring our campaigns to market in the region. So we look after everything from PR to content creation, digital marketing, we run events, the whole spectrum. So never a dull day for us. And of course, we're supported by a very strong team of, deep domain experts, but we essentially bring the campaigns to market here in the region with our understanding of the region.
Fantastic. And could you just maybe, give a bit more sort of background on kind of, what's that main marketing focus for you at the moment that's driving this year forward?
So first of all, for those of you who don't know Broadridge, and I suspect there are quite a few, we are a global technology leader. And so we provide critical technology to the financial services industry. And we essentially help our clients operate, innovate, and grow. And we position ourselves as a strong partner to these firms with our trusted expertise and transformative technology. And so in that context, the primary focus right now in Asia is we recently rolled out a global brand refresh, positioning us as trusted and transformative that I just mentioned. So the focus really is on amplifying the brand in the region. How do we make it relevant to the international business and specifically in APAC, where we are not as well known as in the US, right? So we are a US-based company listed on the New York Stock Exchange, well known in the States. And, we're growing fast in APAC, but from a smaller base. And there's still a lot of awareness that we need to raise of what we actually do. And so it's really exciting now that we've sort of rolled out the global brand refresh to now look at how do we make it relevant to our core markets. And we cover a lot of markets in Asia, but the prime focus is on Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong, and Australia. And so really demonstrating our deep expertise in those markets and bringing the proof points of, what does it actually mean to be trusted and transformative to market in the local context. So that's big focus. And sort of developing the messaging around that is critical. The second part is, not surprisingly, we obviously want to generate more demand. We see huge opportunities in the region. So really sort of keep transforming our demand gen playbook. Last financial year, which just finished in end of June, we delivered really great results from a marketing perspective, from a sales perspective, but also from how marketing contributed to those sales. So record numbers of new pipeline generated. We, as a team, are very proud of, about 30% of recurring sales last financial year in APAC came from marketing source opportunities. That's a fantastic result, and it comes really from a very close partnership with the sales team. We don't work in isolation. It's one team effort, and there's no argument about, is this marketing source or is this from sales? No, this is a team effort. We've got so much room to grow, so we keep evolving the playbook and how we make it most impactful. And the last thing I would say, interesting, because obviously Ortus is all about creating communities, right? And so you bring, in this context, the marketing community together. That's a big focus for us in terms of our client communities. It's not just about generating new demands, but also engaging our existing client base bring the community together, organizing, what you're very good at, roundtables, and really talking about, what are the key trends that are common across our clients and how Broadridge can then support our clients in that context. So those would be the main three things. Of course, there's lots of other stuff going on, but kind of the main focus at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it's an exciting time of trust, growth, and getting that value proposition out to those customers. Maybe, yeah, because you spoke about that success that you've had this year, and the team is obviously very happy with the results that's come in. Could you maybe expand on that and just give a bit more insights in some of the events or campaigns or engagement bits that you put in place that led to that success, and maybe the key pillars that you felt were sort of guiding that success?
What does success look like in marketing, right? There's always a big debate. We could sort of talk about ROI, brand perception, revenue growth, customer loyalty, conversion rates, all sorts of things are all true. I would say sort of success for me really comes when we have a seat at the leadership table, and we're really seen as a core part of the growth of the organization. As strategic advisors, we have a deep understanding of the industry, and we can really bring to life the why and how of what marketing can contribute. So I would say in that context, a big part of our success has been to really think deeply about why are we doing certain campaigns and prioritizing the big opportunities and where marketing can make the big difference. We've got quite a broad portfolio of market segments that we look after, and some lend themselves more to lead gen activities than others. And so having a really sort of deep understanding of which ones they are to double down on, and which ones lend themselves to more BAU sales activities. So I think we've done that quite well with limited resources. I have a small team, as everyone, limited budgets. So we have to be really surgical, as my boss would say, around sort of what we prioritize. And so it's all about sitting down with the APAC leadership and the sales leadership to really sort of deeply understanding where can we make the biggest difference, and then working in partnership with them, bringing that to life. The other thing is, not everything is going to work, yeah, and being really honest about what worked and what didn't. And we don't need to be shy about why something, or if something didn't work, we learn from it and we move on and do it better next time, right? And so I guess that was a long answer to your question. What sort of activities were we driving? It's a big mix of thought leadership, really sort of demonstrating our expertise around the key market trends, and then bringing them to life through digital campaigns. We do a lot of events. Of course, we sponsor industry events that are relevant, but we do a lot of our own events as well. And we found kind of the smaller audiences tend to be most impactful, rather than having lots of people in the room and you don't sort of end up building a deeper relationship. So we love doing roundtables. Your smaller briefing type events have been really impactful. But the key is, what can Broadridge contribute to those discussions, and what's our expertise? And so really demonstrating, again, I come back to the trusted expertise, right? We've done this in other parts of the world. We have a deep understanding of the industry in Asia, and we can help you transform your business. That's essentially the message.
I like all those points. I think seems like with that agile team you're working with, making sure that preparation is there with all functions of the business. And I think we only see it more and more that marketing goes deeper into sales and needs to have more of that relationship, especially across such a region like APAC, where there's many different markets, and you do need to get advice from those local leaders. I think that's great, and I think that probably leads on to that fail fast or collect data mentality, and nothing set in stone from there. So I think that's great. And in terms of challenges, so you had great success this year But what are the challenges that you feel that marketers are facing today?
I would say it's probably the rapid change that we're seeing in the industry. If we can't get around the topic of AI, right? There's so much positive change happening, but how do you stay on top of all of those changes, right? I think of how people are searching for content now and how it comes up, and how you then need to think about how you create content and how you present the content. And it's no longer about keywords, but it's about being that kind of the primary source when it comes up in AI search. Just as a simple example, right? So those are the kind of things. You can't just keep doing the same stuff. You still need quality content, but you need to think about how are people actually going to digest it. And so there's a lot of change, never a dull day, as I like to say in marketing. So finding the right balance between keep doubling down on what is working and kind of the playbook that is working. You don't change the stuff that is still absolutely relevant, but balance that with adapting to new approaches and keep learning what it actually means, right? I think marketing is one of the functions that is particularly strongly impacted by AI. And, I think if you know how to use it in the right way, it is actually very, very positive, right? But you also need to sort of just stay on top of it and understand what it means for our function. And so I think that's a big challenge. You can't just keep doing the same things and think you'll get the same results.
Yeah, definitely. There's not a year where things don't change
Yeah.
dramatically anymore. It
Right.
just seems like the timescales are so much shorter. And do you think that maybe the sort of access to content and sort of maybe the customer being a bit more everything's out there for them to review, and do you think like because of that maybe has led to a bit more like the smaller events almost holding a bit more value for you, because actually that person-to-person connection and getting deeper into the conversation with these leaders is actually almost more valuable now than a larger event or other forms of engagement?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think people are looking for that human connection, right? I think it's more important than ever. And bringing the community together that has sort of similar challenges, they see a lot of value in that. So if we can be seen as bringing that community together, we usually get some really good outcomes from that, right? It may not lead to direct sales immediately afterwards, but it builds that relationship that once they're in buying mode, they'll be thinking of you as the ones that have been sort of discussing the key challenges that are affecting them. So I think that human connection, I talked about change. So I think what is not going to change is the need for human connection and authenticity, right? And how can you be more authentic than bringing people together face to face and having a dialogue face to face? That's authentic as it gets, right? So that won't change. And I think the need for quality content and quality debate is not going to change, right? We need to think about how we present things in the world of AI. But I think those two things, human connection and quality expertise and content, I think is going to be with us. And so we need to think how we bring that to life.
Yeah, definitely. And I hope sort of the benefits of AI maybe give us some more space to have those debates and have those communities
it's going to free up time, right?
Yeah,
I think a bit more sort of automated creativity, let's call it. But it frees us time to have a bit more human connection. That's a good thought, actually. Yeah.
Well,
like
or it will go the other way, and I think what is it? There's things like where they talk about the expectations of the internet freeing everyone up, and no one will have so much time, and actually because things are more instant now, no one has sort of time anymore. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
From some career advice, what career advice would you give anyone starting in marketing?
I would say, so really try to understand your stakeholders. Of course, you need to be a great marketer and understand what tactics and what platforms to use and how to bring that to life. But I think you really need to understand your stakeholders, so sales being one of them. What makes sales tick? What do they need? How can you collaborate with them? How do you really sort of understand how you can grow the business with sales? Clients, right? What keeps your clients up at night? I always feel it depends a bit on what particular role you have in marketing. Of course, there's a bit more of an operational side and as well, but I feel very strongly that you need to be in front of clients as a external facing marketer. You don't hide in the back somewhere in a dark room in a corner of the office. Talk to clients, find opportunities. It will give you the best background around why you should be doing a campaign and the how, right? Get out there, network, talk to people, really deeply understand the industry, right? And you don't need to be shy about this stuff. Just think of some questions to ask. You don't need to be a deep domain expert necessarily to talk to people in the industry. Just think of some questions. People love to talk if you ask them questions. Just learn. Exactly. And so the other thing is, coming back to sales, if you can, of course, that's not possible in every office, but if you can sit with the sales team, be in the office. Okay, both you're in the hotel now. I'm actually at home. It's Friday. I'm usually at home on Friday, but spend more time again in the office and talk to people. Sit with the sales team. They will automatically see you as part of the team. Everyone in my team does that naturally, and they get a much deeper understanding of what's driving sales, what they're working on, and also because they sit together, they also being seen as part of the team, right? There's none of this, I'm not sure I really need marketing to do my job. No, it's part of the team effort. And so, just proximity to your stakeholders, I think is really important. So besides the natural, yes, you need to learn your marketing ABCs, go out and really understand your stakeholders and your industry, and then you'll start being trusted by your stakeholders as a real partner, right? My boss always says we should think as general managers, right? So have a bit of a commercial mindset, and really understand how the business ticks. I was very fortunate in my earlier part of the career. I spent 2 years in sales myself. It's tough. You have some really good months, and then sometimes it's a bit of a struggle, and then you have a good month again. And so I learned a lot from those 2 years, probably the most I ever learned in my rather long career now. But those were the things that really helped me in my job now.
I love those points, and especially with marketing, I think you have influence over a lot of functions, especially sales, and getting that perspective and getting that sort of connection is so important in any role. And yeah, the way you do that and how you can support each other is key, whether it be directly or just through, like you say, things just being created by sitting next to each other. I think it does. It makes you comfortable.
Simple stuff.
You understand the small nuances of each other. So yeah, it's important. In terms of leadership advice, we've talked about the change that's come into place sort of so quickly, and I'd like to just try and understand if you have any bits of traditional leadership advice that you don't think really applies to the modern marketer.
Yeah, and it fits exactly to the point you just made around fast pace of change. Sort of traditional leadership advice may have been around stick to proven playbooks, double down, and just it works. We know it works. Keep doing it. I think that in pockets might still be relevant, but by and large, I think things are just changing faster than ever, right? So what may have worked last year may not work again this year. And so I think as modern marketing leaders, we need to sort of foster a culture of experimentation, try new things, take some risk. let's call it smart risk taking, right? So you don't want to go sort of overboard, but unless you try new things, you're not going to learn what works and what doesn't. And so rather than just sticking to legacy tactics, experiment, try new things, learn about the changes that are impacting you. And so I think that's a bit outdated now. Don't stick to the proven playbooks.
Yeah, I agree. And we have so much data, and everyone speaks about data. And if you don't use that data to change what you're doing in all aspects of the business, then what's the point, right?
Exactly.
What's the future of marketing look like? Where are you seeing it in the next 5-10 years?
I think it's actually going to be really exciting in the next 5 years. We started really leveraging AI tools at Broadridge. We want to be seen as a leader in AI in everything we do, not just applying it to our external facing solutions for our clients, but also internally. And so we've rolled out an AI academy where we learn about how to use these tools. We've been given a whole library of different tools. We can create our own AI tools. And I think it was quite a smart approach because, our sort of technology leadership may not know the best use cases for marketing or for other functions. So we've been sort of educated on the benefits and how to use these things. Now we're thinking about our own use cases, right? So one of the use cases is really around sort of personalization. And I think that's becoming a lot smarter and easier now. So if you think of hyper-personalization, we publish an annual digital transformation study where we interview 500 C-level executives from our clients about how they think about digital transformation and the innovations they're making. And so there's a lot of data, and we've used AI to personalize the message and the data set that our sales team can send to their clients, right? So yes, of course, we're doing a broad sort of promotion of the content, but we can now customize it. If you're an account manager that has a client in Hong Kong and is an asset manager, you can then customize the email that goes out and the content set that goes to that particular client that's relevant to asset management in Asia. Yeah. If you're a sales specialist in the US and you're talking to a broker, you can customize that set. So becoming a lot more relevant to the audience. And of course, it's not as if we couldn't do that before. It's just being automated and much smarter, and you can scale it, right? And so I think that's really exciting. You mentioned data, right? I think just the ability of taking much better decisions around what works, what doesn't, getting early buying signals from clients. And again, it's not as if you couldn't do that before, but it is a lot more sort of time intensive. Versus now you can use AI to, you can see, okay, so DBS, as an example, may have looked at a particular product page and 10 people in the last 2 days looked at that page. That's a buying signal. Now, of course, we could have done the analysis and downloaded the data and sort of looked at it, could have done that before, but now you can have immediate feedback to us and the sales team to then take action, right? And you could even, we're not quite there yet, but you could then get AI to create a PowerPoint deck that's relevant to that particular client. You can get agentic AI to do a bit of research. This DBS, have they made an announcement recently about doubling down on this particular business that may drive their interest in a particular product? And so all of this stuff could just happen automatically and give us a lot more data and intelligence. And so I think that's really exciting. And so, I think having said all of this, coming back to that sort of human element, I think that human authenticity is going to remain to be really important. And so using AI to augment what we're doing and becoming smarter and scaling activities, but really keeping that sort of human judgment and human interaction, I think is going to be really important.
I was definitely understanding that bit about, and I see it a lot because obviously we work off quite a bit of an ABN like approach where a lot of people would be reviewing these buying signals from customers, but I see it now this year in such a quicker format where people will come in and it would be like, yes, this is a great list of perspectives, but they will also come out the other end saying like, oh no, this person is not relevant anymore as a company. And that speed of messaging that can then go out to that customer is incredible. And
Amazing,
you know, we're not wasting energy in the wrong areas, and you know, having someone's ear and feeding the wrong random message. And I just think it's an amazing sort of step in for both sides of the journey, right? You don't want the spammy information, and yeah, you don't want to waste your time as a business sort of reaching out to the wrong people.
Totally right. I mean, we all get these messages, right? And like who opens those, right?
Yeah,
Make it relevant.
Yeah,
and
I'm not an HR leader. Why are
you're-
you sending me this?
Yeah, I mean, so we're sort of always thinking about 5% of our clients are probably in buying mode right now, right?
Yeah.
That's 95% that are not in buying mode. Yes, you do want to stay in touch with them, but you don't want to blast any sort of solution messages at them all the time, right? You need to find that right time slot when those 5% are in buying mode, right? And so what we just talked about will enable much smarter prioritization.
The hardest question, how would you describe the role of a marketing director and CMO in one word, and why?
I'm obviously a bit biased being a marketer myself, but I would say indispensable.
Okay.
I think, just the ability to connect with customers, differentiate the messaging in the market, drive growth. I think that's sort of strategic guidance and vision that great marketers can and must provide. So I think marketing directors or marketing leaders, CMOs, really touch every corner of the organization. And that makes the role absolutely essential, right? What we found at Broadridge, and that's probably quite common in firms like ours, is how do you actually describe what we do? We do so many different things and we touch so many different types of customers.
Yeah.
How do you talk about what we actually do and the value that we bring to our clients? In the past, if you spoke to 10 different people, you would have gotten 10 different answers. And so really sort of driving that narrative around trust and transformative and the value that we bring as an enterprise. And then you can talk about the specific customer segment, of course, but that's really strategic guidance that sort of comes from the marketing leadership in collaboration with company leadership. But how people talk about the firm left on their own devices is quite a challenge, and you'll end up not with a consistent message.
Well, yeah, we touched very briefly on it at the start, right? It's very
Indeed.
Important. Do you think, and someone said this to me a couple of days ago, and their view was that at the moment, the CMO's voice within the board level has increased, and that is a good perspective. Like, would you say you agree with that, or what's your?
I definitely agree with that. Yeah, I mean, if we just look at our own organization, our CMO Dipti Kachru has a very strong seat at the leadership table. Here in Asia, I sit part of a small Asia leadership team, and have direct seat and influence over our strategy in the region, and aligning the local strategies with our marketing strategies. Absolutely, yeah. I've definitely seen that positive change in our organization, and I suspect it's similar in other organizations as well. So yeah, really positive change. I think we've really been able to demonstrate the value that we bring, not just from a brand perspective, but also from an actual demand generation and growth perspective.
Fantastic. Well, that's great to hear. And Oliver, thank you for joining me today on CMO Chats. It's been a pleasure to hear your viewpoints and experience.
It's been fun. Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Really enjoyed the conversation.